Well, and how did we come to this point? How did a European country claiming to be free and which allied with us, with our country to defeat mankind's greatest threats to freedom in the 20th century, here they are, they have now become this type of a very ugly, censorious regime.
Because they won't fix the problems. A lot of people are frustrated simply because they cannot speak about the things that matter to them. And when they do speak about the things that matter to them, they're labeled as bigots or racist.
What is going on in Europe is they cannot tolerate dissent. They cannot tolerate alternative views because they cannot tolerate the scrutiny that will come with allowing people to freely speak. Thank you. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Mr. Linehan, in your testimony, you describe how the UK police identify what they refer to as non-crime hate incidents against citizens, even if there's no actual violation of the law. Talk about Orwellian. Could you please briefly explain for us what a non-crime hate incident is?
It's essentially the British government's attempt to control people's speech without appearing to. Non-crime hate incidents, they don't, I believe they appear on background checks, but it's very hard to find out what they have, what they are saying about you. I was invited to the Conservative Party conference in the UK, and my accreditation was turned down. I still don't know why. The Conservative Party overthrew it, but I have a feeling that the kind of popular conception about me being a bigot and so on has found its way into the police files.
So you're saying these allegations against British citizens actually appear on your record like a criminal conviction, but there is no criminal conviction, is that
That's right? That's right.
All right, this sounds to me like a form of a social credit score where the state uses taxpayer funds to collect information on its citizens as a mechanism for public shaming. Is that a fair description?
I would say so, yes.
So, and then are these so-called non-crime hate incidents, are they at least enforced equally? In other words, are these targeted against people of certain religious or political beliefs or against people who fail to subscribe to in vogue woke ideology?
Well, I'm not sure. I think, as I said earlier, I think the UK police, their main job now is keeping the people under control, because too many of them are noticing things that are worrying them, things that they want to talk about, and they're not being allowed to talk about it. For instance, the BBC for 10 years now has basically ignored the gender issue completely, which means that the side of the story that is, just a very kind of calm and compassionate laying out of things that feminists believe is just unspoken on the BBC. So, so I don't know much about the operation of non-crime hate incidents, but I believe because of my arrest, they say they're not going to prosecute them anymore. They're not going to bring them, investigate them. So I'm hoping that's true.
Well, but isn't it a fact that the information is then often used by employers, banks, people who may have invited you to speak, to actually ruin someone's life, a person that has not been convicted of any crime, but in this shadowy netherworld of surveillance and observation and trying to define what is appropriate speech and inappropriate speech, it's actually ruining people's lives or preventing people from getting jobs simply because of this nebulous anti-free speech otherworld.
Sure, yeah.
Well, and how did we come to this point? How did a European country claiming to be free and which allied with us, with our country to defeat mankind's greatest threats to freedom in the 20th century, here they are, they have now become this type of a very ugly, censorious regime. How did that happen?
Because they won't fix the problems that are causing the, some people have been arrested for genuinely violent speech, and they've gotten into trouble for that. But a lot of people are frustrated simply because they cannot speak about the things that matter to them. And when they do speak about the things that matter to them, they're labeled as bigots or racists, So, and also I think it's the same here as well, in the sense that
yes, it is.
it's not just the absence of people talking about it. It's mainstream legacy media directing people's attention elsewhere and simply not reporting on things. So I think there's just a huge bubbling sense of frustration that could, as I said earlier, lead to some sort of societal collapse. I don't think that's out of the question at all.
I think that your warning in that regard is very well taken, at least for some of us on this panel. The first act of a tyrant is to strip you of your right to speak, because they know that their policies and ideas cannot withstand scrutiny, which is, I believe, what you're saying. They cannot survive being mocked. And I think that we're seeing that repeatedly in England, in Spain, in France, in other countries. We're seeing it here as well. We do have the First Amendment, freedom of speech. We have the right for freedom of speech. But what I have been observing in terms of what is going on in Europe is they cannot tolerate dissent. They cannot tolerate alternative views because they cannot tolerate the scrutiny that will come with allowing people to freely speak and having to defend the horrific policies that they've been implementing in their countries for the last couple of decades. I'm out of time. I now am going to call on the gentleman.
Mr. Price, why are they really going after X?
Sir, it's my view that they're going after X because X has decided to take a maximalist position of free speech, to have the most possible free speech. And that's inimical to their view, which is that we cannot have free speech.
The left loved Elon Musk until he spent, what did he say? I didn't spend $50 billion to buy Twitter. I spent $50 billion to save the First Amendment. So they loved him before he bought X and said, I'm going to honor the First Amendment and respect the First Amendment. Would you agree, Mr. Linehan?
Yes, and the effect of all these policies in Europe is, I'll give you one example. In Dublin recently, there were riots. And I've never seen riots in Dublin in my life. You know, this is because people cannot speak honestly about the thing that matters most to them at the moment, which is unchecked immigration, you know. And that frustration and the kind of silencing of alternative voices is what's leading, I think, to things like riots. And I think long-term we could see societal collapse. I really do think that it's a possibility in some countries.
In last Congress, we had a journalist from Canada, Rupert Supermanier, came here, testified. She had covered the trucker crisis in Canada back during COVID. She had covered that and been censored for her, as a journalist, had been censored.
Yes.
And she sat right there and said the same thing you did. She said the hallmark of Western civilization is free debate, free expression. Yes. And to your point, if you don't have that, the alternative is scary, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't settle, then disputes don't get settled via debate, they get settled via some other way. And that's the scary thing. And that is what is so frustrating. I mean, the DOJ, the SEC, the FTC all go after Elon Musk here in the United States after he buys Twitter. And now we got Spain, the UK, Ireland all going after him, France going after him, the EU. Never before when he was on the left. But as soon as he comes out for free speech, free expression, here comes the government. Scary, scary world. And again, thank you all for, I do have to run. I apologize. We're going to let someone else chair. We are down to the last 20 minutes. Before I recognize the gentleman from North Carolina, I want to say thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. And Doctor, thank you. Many people have said it, but the courage that you've shown, and frankly, the courage Mr. Linehan has shown when you're attacked for speaking your mind. God bless you. We really appreciate you all being here, Mr. Price and Mr. Maywell. We appreciate you. We will all have you all back at some point as well.